Got to find trig values. Now what they said is, it says find all trig values when we know or we're told that sine of theta is equal to -3 over 5. All right, so now what are all, so there's 6 trig values, right? There's cosine of theta, there's tangent of theta, and then there are reciprocals. So the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. The reciprocal of cosine is secant. And then cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Okay. And so what we want to do is we're going to focus on the Cartesian plane. And sometimes we call it a unit circle. Sometimes I've heard other things, but most of the time we refer to it as a unit circle. But this is not, a unit circle has a radius of 1. So I don't like, and I've heard somebody call it like the standard circle. I've heard different names, but basically our trigonometric functions and their values are based on right angle triangles that can be derived from a circle that has an origin, or has the origin as its center. And so for me to get, and I suppose what we should probably do is on the bottom here, let's remind ourselves of when it comes to this circle in the Cartesian plane, we just took a little warm-up activity that said that sine of theta was equal to y over r. And that cosine of theta was equal to x over r. And that tangent of theta was equal to y over x. And then the reciprocals, cosecant of theta was equal to, you just flip them, r over y. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so instead of x over r, it's just r over x. And then cotangent of theta is just x over y. How many of you guys got all those correct?
I always get the second
Okay.
and the CSC one mixed up.
Okay, well that's okay. We'll keep doing them until you guys get it right. So what this means when we say sine of theta is equal to -3, 5, what we're really saying is the point -3, but we're talking about the y value and the radius of 5, right? So -3 over 5 means I have a negative y value. Now that can occur in 2 places. It can occur in quadrant 3, or it can occur in quadrant 4. Now if we need to determine where it takes place, one little thing that I didn't write down at first, and I waited purposefully till the end, is in the textbook it gives us some additional information that lets us know which quadrant to pick. It said tangent of theta is less than 0. So we need to find a quadrant where tangent of theta is less than 0. So now what does that mean? Well, if tangent is less than 0, then that means that tangent has to be negative. And we have, so what does that mean with the x value? So right here, we know that the y value is negative. Now if the x value is negative, doesn't that make the overall ratio positive? So what quadrant must we choose?
4.
Quadrant 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here with a radius, and I'm just going to arbitrarily choose a spot where we know that the y value, I don't know what the x value is yet, but the y value is -3. And we also know that the radius is equal to 5. All right, so what does that mean? Well, what it means is that I am dealing with a right angle triangle that kind of looks like this, where this is equal to 5, and really, what's the distance from here to here? The distance is really 3. Now that's one of our Pythagorean triplets, right? we could apply the Pythagorean formula to this, right? A squared plus B squared equals C squared, but we already know what this is, don't we? We should. The side length is 4, right? That's the famous 3, 4, 5 triangle. Now, I guess it if you don't remember, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And if you haven't memorized this, what we're really saying is 3 squared plus 4 squared should equal 5 squared. Right? 5 squared is 25, so this is 9 squared plus 16 squared, or not 16 squared. 3 squared plus 4 squared is 9 plus 16, which is 25, right? It's a good thing I write down the right stuff, because I hope that you guys tune me out and just look at what I write on the board every day. Okay, good. So then what we're really saying is that this little thing right here, this is -3, and the distance from here to here is 4, so my x value is 4. We did all of that work to determine that the x value is 4. So now that I have my right angle triangle, I can just fill in according to the y, r, x, r stuff. Okay? So what is cosine then? It's x over r, so my x is 4, my radius is 5, and then tangent is y over x, so that would be -3 over 4, right? And then these are just going to be the reciprocals. So this would be 5 over -3. The next one would be 5 over 4. And the next one would be 4 over -3. Ta-da!
That was easy.